Okay, guys, welcome back to another video. Today, we're kind of going to go through a comment somebody put in my stream, which I'll put on stream now. Okay, not that one, but this one. Okay, very, very good comment. Who has got more on the line when it comes to champs this year for their legacy? Is it Scrap? Is it Shotzi? Is it the Pimp Chris Lair? Great question. And it's not just three answers, right? It's probably six, because you have what happens if one of the players wins, and also kind of the outlook and the narratives, how they change if they lose. So let's go through all of them. Let's start with Scrap, right? Scrap at this point has now won 6 in 4 years. This is the end of his 4th year. He's now won 6 tournaments in 4 years. He's been the season MVP last year. I think he's deserving to win the season MVP this year, which would have meant back-to-back season MVPs and 2 in 4 years. And he was a top 3 player in MW3 behind BZ and Hydra. And in MW3, you can argue he was the second best player in the game, which I think would be fair. But at worst, I think you would argue he was the 3rd best player in MW3 at worst. So he's pretty much been a top 3 player in every single Call of Duty he's played in. But he doesn't have that ring, right? People care about that. It's an asterisk on him, and people kind of call him a champs breaker. I think that's a bit unfair on him individually. I think he's always performed at champs. Even if you go back to MW2, that 5-0, I think he was like 10 damage or like 1 damage off having the highest damage on his team. Sometimes shit happens. It is what it is. But the narrative is very different than the reality, right? Just in general. Especially with sports, esports, team bias, tribalism, narratives are super important. And if Scrap loses, the narrative that he's a champs breaker seems to just gain more substance, and he has to wait another year to get his lick back. And we don't even know what team he's going to be on next year, because Hydra's definitely going to Gentlemates. Does he follow Hydra to Gentlemates? Does he go to Optic if Dashy moves, or they try and just get Scrap in general? Does he go to FaZe with Simp? We don't even know where he's going to be next season. So champs might even be harder for him to win after this season. He's got a very good squad. I think they're going into champs as the favourite. So, if he loses, that narrative's going to change legs. Now, if he wins, he'll have won. Apologies, I think I said he won 6 chips earlier. I think he's won 5, sorry. If he wins, he would have won 6 chips. And yeah, he'll finally get his ring. He can brush that off aside. Then he can go into EWC as the favourites for that event and look to go into another year where he's a top 3 player in the game, which I'm sure he will be. For Scrap, the loss kind of runs that narrative a bit more, and I think that gains legs, and who knows what he's with next season. If he wins, he's finally got that under his belt, the kind of one tournament he hasn't won. I know EWC now, but you know what I mean. The one that people seem to value the most in this community. He's got that out of the way. He calls himself world champion, and then his career moves on. So I don't think it's on the line for all of them, all 3 of them. But for Scrap, they're the kind of points for him. Next, we got Shotzi. Okay. If he wins, he becomes the first person in Call of Duty ever to win 4 rings. People say 5 with Halo, but Halo's different, obviously. He probably goes down as, if not already, the best esports player of all time if he wins a 4th ring because of that additional ring in Halo. And that's fair to say. But with Shotzi, if he wins the 4th ring, does that mean he's the GOAT? In my opinion, no. Because if you're of the opinion that rings is only what defines people, then your list has to be, if he wins Shotzi, then Dashy, Crim, Clayster, Karma, then Arcetes, Apathy, Simpa, BZ. Then it goes down to like Celium, Form, or Scump. And I don't think people have Scump as like their 30th, 20th best player of all time, right? So you have to take rings seriously, but you also have to take them with a pinch of salt. So if he wins 4 rings, does that mean he's the GOAT of the esport? No. Do I think that probably will put him the CDL GOAT in a lot of people's minds? I do. I just can't put him above Simp unless he has better individual consistent season MVP winning seasons. But I think that narrative will just get so much harder to defend against about Simp being the best in the CDL to the casual fan. I think the people who actually watch the esport and have watched it for all 7 seasons will still think Simp's the best. I don't see that changing with that, but I think a lot of casual fans will just see those 4 rings and be like, well, it's 4-1. This guy has to be the GOAT. So from a wins point of view, I think it puts him in a lot more GOAT conversations than he is now, as I don't think he's in the top 5 right now. But I think that extra ring for the casual's mind is going to pretty much put him at the top for a lot of people. The CDL, for people who watch the esport more, I think that probably puts him, fairly, he's one or two CDL. He'd distance himself from a BZ and Celium, I think. And then it's just about whether it's 1 or 2 with Simp. And then an all-time, he might go number 4 all-time if you have, for example, Simp, Crim, and Scump, which I think at the moment is the unanimous top 3, whatever order you put them in. So in terms of a win, he jumps up rankings. In terms of a loss, I actually think out of the 3, he's got the least amount to lose. The only way he loses stock here on this loss, I think, is if both Abeezy and Simp or Simp win. I think more so with Simp. But if Abeezy wins, I have Shotzi sat around. I have Simp at the top in the CDL and in general, but in the CDL. And then around that second place, you can argue Sedium, you can argue Abeezy, you can argue Shotzi, right? You can argue all 3 of them for different reasons. I think if Abeezy wins his 3rd ring, there's no ring argument. Abeezy's had better individual seasons. For example, Abeezy's, even though he didn't win season MVP, his Cold War season and his MW2 season were both better individual seasons than Shotzi's MW 2019 season, where he did win the season MVP. So you have to take season MVPs with a slight pinch of salt there because, Abeezy's had 2 better seasons than Shotzi's best season in the CDL. So you kind of have to think about those things. So Abeezy could then definitely be argued higher than him for sure. Won more tournaments, had more individual dominance, and has done it without the pimp and Sedium now, and has the same rings. With Simp, it's like if Simp wins, to be honest, if Simp wins this, I don't think if Simp wins, it should push him to be your GOAT of all time. I already think he's the GOAT. I don't think this just winning one tournament, one champs, should make him be your GOAT if he's not. But I think a lot of people will probably consider him the GOAT if he wins a third world championship, especially going into champs with, in my opinion, the third best roster. Not the first, not the second. I think Optic and Thieves are both stronger. So if Shotzi loses to any of those 2, it's not that his stock lowers, it's that the others, Abeezy and Simp, I think gets further away, especially with Simp. I think Simp gets further away, and I think Abeezy then distances himself, where at the moment I think you can argue sell Abeezy, Shotzi in kind of like intertwined in that. I think if Abeezy wins, he distances himself out of that and then kind of joins Simp as the 1 and 2. But I think if Simp wins, I've already got him as 1. Like there's nowhere else for him to go. I think he just cements it further. So let's talk about Simp then. We kind of just spoke about it there. It's kind of like if he wins, I think he's cemented GOAT in a lot of people's minds that maybe like have him up there but don't have him all the way yet. You got to think, guys, what more can this guy do? Like, he's won all the individual awards multiple times. He's played 8 seasons in the league. He's been the best player in the league in 4 of them, in Black Ops 4, Modern Warfare 2019, Cold War, and MW3. Half the seasons he's played, he's been the best player in the world. Some other seasons he's in like top 3 candidates, and then like Vanguard and MW2, I'd say he's more like the 10th in the league, 8th to 10th kind of category. Like, what more does he need to do? Because if he wins a 3rd ring, no one's won more than him in terms of that, and that's a team accomplishment. No one in the CDL would have won more chips, or no one in general since he joined the league would have won more chips. He gets 1 more than Abeezy. He wins without the trio. If Simp wins, guys, how do you not have him as the best player ever? If you have Crim or Scump, maybe, like, I get it, but in terms of, like, since he entered the league, got players that have come after that and started around the same time, how is Simp not the best player ever in that category? I just don't see how anyone could probably argue it. Right now, all Shotzi has more than him is rings. That's it. Shotzi's not had a better individual seasons. He's not won more tournaments. He just has more rings. So if Simp can win it, he doesn't even need to be the best player at champs. I have FaZe winning, and I just think Draza is going to get season MVP. Of course, it's just a guess. We don't know, but he doesn't even need to win the event MVP. If he wins another one, I think all those conversations go away until future years where people can win against him and then get back to the top. I just think that conversation dies for quite a while if he wins. If he loses, however, that's 3 champs in a row. Well, it's not 3 champs in a row, because what I mean is if he underperforms. If he underperforms individually, that would have been 3 champs in a row that he's underperformed. And that narrative, similar to Scrap, will start to get more and more legs, especially if Abeezy or Shotzi win. We said with Shotzi, if he loses, it's whether or not Abeezy or Simp win. The same thing with Simp. If he loses and Abeezy or Shotzi win, narratives start right. If Shotzi wins, people say, well, Shotzi's better than you all time, even though I disagree. And then if Abeezy wins, it's like, well, Abeezy's joined basically the same time Abeezy joined in World War II, but he wasn't winning an event on that Enigma 6 roster. So he could pretty much call his championship level start into the league was the same game on Black Ops 4. Abeezy would have won more than you, Individually, yes, you've been more consistent than Abizi, but there's games where Abizi was better than you on the same team. For example, in MW2 and Cold War, I have Simp, but I get it if people argue either way. I get it. I get it. It's completely fair. So for a loss for Simp, the narratives that surround him are more so if Abizi or Shotzi wins. If FaZe don't win champs and fucking Paris win it, right? Joe Deceives wins it. It's not really going to affect Simp or Shotzi's legacy as much. But if Simp loses and has a bad event and then Shotzi or Abizi win, I think narratives definitely start to form and change and gain more legs and gain more traction. So they're the three. I think you could make arguments for Abizi and Hydra, but I don't want to go into too much detail with too many players. I think these three are a good kind of case study to look at, to kind of refresh. Yeah, Scrap, if he wins first ring, gets that off his back. If he loses, that narrative of champs breaker starts to gain legs more. Shotzi wins first player to ever get 4 rings will be some people's goats. You won't be able to argue against it for some people. The loss, don't think it hurts your stock too much unless it's Abizi or Simp who win, which is very likely as they're the other best two teams in the game. And Simp, if he wins, I think he's the cemented GOAT. I don't think anyone will entertain the Shotzi conversations again. Well, Optic fans always will, but I think if Simp wins now, those conversations are done. I think he's the cemented GOAT. But if he loses and he has a bad performance, especially if Abizi and Shotzi win, those narratives change, those rankings change for people. They've all got something to win and to lose here, and I just can't wait for this tournament. I have FaZe Vegas beating Optic Texas in the grand finals 5-3. What do you think? Let me know below. But until then, peace out.